morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I See You with Karla Sue, where we learn to shine our light through mindset, movement, and music. And I am Karla Sue, your esteemed host. I have to wear my reading glasses. I'm working on a solution. Today, I am so thrilled. I have Nicole Harvick on the phone. Well, not on the phone. This is actually TV. I'm going to just take a little look at her bio because it packs a lot of information and it's in her own words. She is known as the forgiveness expert and a quantum energy healer. Intriguing. Her mission is to assist people from all walks of life to identify and relieve negative emotions that are stuck where? Inside the body, causing what? Sickness and emotional pain. She uses different modalities, actually. She's certified in Reiki, meditation, and hypnosis. She does sound therapy. And I love this cellular memory retrieval. We are getting very deep into science. And as we all know, or maybe this is new to you and it's really cool, science and spirituality start to merge until you just don't know which one they are. I'm especially excited that she may be able to share a little bit about the Hooponopono meditation, which I personally have found eminently useful, and I use it with my patients as well. It's just wonderful. But before we get to her, I have something kind of neat to share with you. Take a look at this.
Hey there, I'm Diane Forster, host of I Have Today, where we talk about the art of intentional living. Our show is on the Fresh Takes channel on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you're ready to be inspired, empowered, and educated and learn how to live the I Have Today way, then tune in. Hope to see you there.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Karla Sue. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm excited that you're excited about my knowledge because not a lot of people understand it. So thank you for having me on so I might be able to explain a little bit to your audience.
I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. You know what? You are like an encyclopedia, the breadth of knowledge that you have and the ways that you apply it in really creative ways. I don't even know what questions to ask. So can you share? Forgiveness is something we'll get to. Can you share what a quantum energy healer is and what does that mean?
What that means in the way I use it, because quantum can be explained different ways by different people. So how I use quantum is utilizing the past, present, and future to help you understand your now. And it is said, and I believe this, it is said that we exist in many different places at once. That is a quantum theory. I believe in it because I have myself hopped into other timelines of my own existence. So I've actually seen it and felt it. So that's how I use quantum energy healing, is to get to the root of what's causing you problems, the sadness, the anger, the aggression, whatever that emotion may be. We find that, and that's when we start releasing it.
I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect. For those of you out there who aren't aware of this whole quantum energy healing modality, it's been used for thousands of years. And we have science to document it with quantum mechanics. Do you know when quantum mechanics first burst through and we were able to stop the pseudoscience label?
You know, I don't know the exact date. I know that I learned about cellular memory and the quantum healing back in 2016. So that's really when my knowledge started over 8 years ago. With the quantum, I've been doing the rest for many, many, many years.
Of course, we all have intuitive practices for ourselves and intuitive treatments with our people that we cherish, that we work with to help grow. And it just sort of feels like the right thing. Healing is multidimensional. It's beyond my comprehension, frankly. let's talk a little bit about the cellular memory work that you're doing. I'm not as familiar with that, so let's see how that ties all in.
Okay, and what I tell people about cellular memory is we all have it, whether it is from childhood, maybe being bullied, being talked down to, a situation that caused a great amount of fear. It can be sexual, but we always have a cellular memory. Our cells are like glue; they pick it up and they hold it inside of us.
Okay.
But it's usually traumatic and it's buried very, very deeply inside of you. And oftentimes you don't even know about it.
Yeah, it's so deep. It is so deep. So, tell me about. I actually am aware of that. I'm thrilled to reveal. But what I don't know is what you do with all of your knowledge, and how do you apply this?
When I'm working with the client, the most important thing I think that I do is I listen to them.
Mm,
When I'm working with them, it used to be more in person, but now it's a lot online. So they always ask me, "Well, do I have to go on camera?" Well, you don't, but
mm,
it's very helpful to me to watch your body language
mm,
because that's something we're not aware of we're doing at times. You know, we'll touch our face or and I listen very, very closely to their words, but I also watch their body language and I watch
mm,
what their face does because your face and your eyes will give you away. And
mm,
that's where we start. We start going back to where what is the root of
mm,
what's going on with you? What's causing your sickness? What's causing your insecurity? Why are you afraid to be heard? Why are you afraid to be seen? Why do you cry for no reason? We have to get to that absolute moment
mhm.
that started, and that's when we can start to do this work.
I cannot agree with you more, not just because you're correct, but because it is the truth of the brain. I'm a neuroscientist and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, been in the field in private practice for almost a quarter of a century. And I can attest to my witnessing of behaviors that go to those things that is the body keeps the score. Bessel van
Mhm.
is a great resource for people, and we can list it on my site. We need to really know that it is in hard science that trauma literally is held in the cells, and because the cells comprise the tissues, then we have tissue inflammation, a lot in the lower back, some sexual trauma for women after assaults, for example. What other manifestations have you seen?
You know, I have seen so many manifestations, and one of them is I was working on a client, and we were kind of working on her stomach area where she'd been having a lot of pain and bloating.
Mhm.
And so we were working through that, but all of a sudden she grabbed her side. She goes, oh my God, he's stabbing me. He's poking me, stabbing me. I'm like, okay, just take a deep breath. Tell me where you're at. She says, "Wife, I'm in France. I'm in France, and I can see my father." She goes, "I don't think he's stabbing me, but he's poking me with a stick."
Mhm.
And so you never know. When I go in, I am so open minded because I don't know what we're going to find. You know, we went from her having pains in her stomach to identifying that as her ex husband. And I'll just be really honest, he didn't want to have sex with her. So that shut her down and made her feel unloved.
Mm.
But in the next breath, someone was stabbing her or poking her
Mhm.
and you know a couple hundred years ago in a past life. So you really have to be open, you have to listen, and you just get to a point where nothing's strange because you don't know what's going to happen, but you have to be able to transition pretty fast.
I agree with you. Being adaptable is a really good skill, for working with really deep stuff like this. And it's
Absolutely.
interesting because not only are you looking at intergenerational trauma, and cellular trauma, but you are actually able to access somehow information from past lives, which, many of you at home, of course, have heard about, but have varying feelings about. So that is an interesting addition into that conversation. How does that kind of download, just knowing thing, how does that also apply with your neurolinguistic programming work?
One of the things that I will just tell you, I have been that kid from a very early age
Hmm.
that just had, I guess, knowledge or downloads. And I was the kid that, at 10 years old, had seances in her playhouse. So I know. Okay, everybody come over. Don't tell your parents. But I've just always had those abilities. I did shut them down for a time,
Hmm.
but I've since gone back to them. And I believe for me, I've always been open to it. I had a very spiritual American Indian grandmother. She was half
Hmm.
American. And so you know how spiritual they are.
Hmm. I'm sorry,
And
it cut out for which nation?
she called it the Kiowa. I've always heard it called the Kiowa, but she explained him as the blue-eyed Indian. She had these amazing blue eyes and black hair. And
Really?
so it came from that lineage from my grandmother, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I've
New information.
always gotten messages. I was just that person.
Mhm.
And the more you work with it, the more it will open. You open your third eye, you open your crown, and you just allow it to be. And we all have this ability if we choose to let it come in.
Mhm. Mhm. And there's a lot of reasons why people choose not to let it in, and some of it they really really believe in, like their faith tradition, would
Yeah.
invalidate that and probably have a negative feeling about that. And sometimes people think it's a little woo woo. I think that you all are going to find over the course of ICU with Karla Sue that what Nicole said, the weird becomes, oh, that's how that fits together. And so the more openness you have to information, and you can discern if it's not for you, but the more open you are for information about your own wellness, the more power you have in your life.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, I believe we are all healers if we allow it.
Mm.
Because I tell people, I always say as within, so without, so a lot of times these people unknowingly are making themselves sick by continuing to hold anger or rage or sadness or just whatever emotion is in there. It has to come out on the outside.
It has to. It has to. And what's really interesting is I think it's widely accepted um, that illness starts in our energetic field
Hmm.
and kind of works inwards until it makes us sick, 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 sick.
Absolutely.
And with that information, which people rarely, seldom are exposed to, when you have more information, you do better. Then they start being really, really conscious about the day to day choices they make.
Yes. And unfortunately, from the time we're a child to the time we're very, very young, we're conditioned, to the beliefs of the parents,
Hmm.
which came from the beliefs of their parents and trailed backwards.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people who have been taught only to look outside of themselves for answers, when in fact, the first thing we should do is go inward and try to find the answers, because I tell people our body is brilliant,
Mm.
absolutely brilliant. It
Mm.
will tell us everything we need to know.
I agree. I agree. While I've been down with my episode of pain with degenerative disc disease, I have just developed the sense of gratitude for everything on the most minute scale. And it was the most spiritually awakened period of my life. And I got to say, I learned very much how powerful my mind and my heart and my connection with spirit or God or the universe or what we can't see. I don't know, that I started getting better very quickly because
Absolutely.
I trusted the wisdom of my body, and I took care of myself like I would want I would want an old lady Ayurvedic doctor to take care of me,
Right,
because my
right.
body knew.
And our bodies do know. And I tell people, you can practice your own kinesiology and
Mhm.
just ask your body questions. One of the things I'll do, like even when I'm buying food, I'll pick up a piece of fruit to see if that's what my body needs. And your
Mhm.
body will either go forwards, which is yes, or backwards, which is no. And I challenge anyone to put an alcohol drink in their hand, your body will unless you're an alcoholic, I would say your body would go forward because you're addicted to it. But
Mhm.
alcohol, certain foods are not good. A lot of foods are not good for you, but your body will tell you what you need and what you don't need. I do it with my vitamins. Do I need more vitamin C? Yes or no?
Oh, that's really helpful for people at home.
And
That's
it's so easy. It's so easy. You just stand with it in your hand and let your body sway. And sometimes it's a very minute movement, but if you're aware of your body, you'll recognize it.
That's really fascinating. That is really fascinating. It's making me think a little bit about dowsing pendulums and how movement comes from energy.
Like these.
Like perhaps that one right there, for
Yeah.
example.
And it is. Your body is electric. Your
Mm,
body's absolutely electric, and that's why it's so helpful to get out in nature because the earth is electromagnetic. And one great way to open yourself up and ground yourself at the same time is to just walk in nature, walk barefoot in the grass.
mhm.
Get your feet in the sand. I never wear shoes. I mean, literally, you have to force me to wear shoes.
Mhm. I've been having these wonderful experiences of going out. So, I'm very limited with my mobility lately. But what I can do is I can go out and walk my 4.5 pound dog with my
Oh,
son, which means I stand on the grass and she walks slowly. And my son has started calling it wom wom-ing because I'm like wom wom wom. And I encourage everybody, listen to Nicole and Karla Sue. Stand on the grass in your barefoot and
oh.
furthermore say wom wom because it's
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And what you're doing is you're creating well, one thing when you use that the wah or the or anything
Mhm.
like that, you're breaking up stagnant energy
Absolutely.
inside of you, but you're also that deep guttural or whatever you want to use is creating different energy in your body, and it's a higher vibration which will actually vibrate out the lower energy.
Can you say that again? Because that sounds sort of woo woo.
That was one of the things that I got a download. A lot of times when I first wake up, I am in silence. And one of the downloads is that be very, very cautious of your words because everything has energy and everything vibrates.
Mhm.
And there's some very negative words that people use. Negative people use negative words, and I was told that what happens is you can switch your mindset. Just start with positive words. I love me. I'm happy. This is going to be a great day. Anything like that that makes you feel better. What that does is that higher vibration.
Mhm.
It just bounces that negative energy out of you. I had never heard that before. And
That's
so, and I'm always positive. So, very seldom do I get cranky, but I just am very, very cautious of my words now. I can do this. I will do this. I am happy. I am in gratitude. Look around. And so that mentality being much higher, those words I use vibrate the lower frequencies out of me.
I would like to share, yeah, I love that. I would like to share a little bit of neuroscience to chime in on that. The more we rehearse anything, we visual, athletes do it, actors do it. I'm an actor and a musician and a dancer, and we have to visualize what we do. And why do we do that? And why do we say things in the present tense in affirmation like, I am enough? Oh, Nicole, I just love you. You have to come back.
I sure will. And you know, the answer to that is we can't change the past. We're not guaranteed the future. You have to live in the now. And
You do.
create your now every single minute in every single breath.
And in neuroscience, we would discuss that being reinforcement of an idea. And any idea, any emotion creates an electrical signal, because everything is electrical. And when you say things in the present tense, the brain has no idea where it is in time space. It doesn't. I mean, we could say it lives in the quantum realm, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
Space consciousness does. So the more we rehearse, it becomes in our body and we do better.
It does. It absolutely sticks with us. And we've just got that different mindset. And you know, time is a man-made construct anyway. Time doesn't exist, you know, and that's a hard concept for a
It's a
lot of
hard one.
people. But truly in space and time, there's no time. It's just existence. It's
It
not,
feels
there's no
very
clock.
much like it exists.
Mhm.
What would you say to people that are like, that sounds nice, but I'm here and now. This is what you say.
And you know, I have a lot of people that don't understand my perspective at all. I've spent many, many years reading, understanding, meditating, listening. And the first thing I will tell you is that I was told about a year ago, I was given a download that our earth has changed its frequency. We know that we're vibrating in a much higher reality right now. We've shifted from that dense carbon-based body to a crystalline body. So
Oh,
we're very much lighter. And I was told the people that need you will find you, but you not to convince anymore. Not to convince anymore. It's just if they don't understand it, they're not going with the new earth. But I just try to tell people that when we're in other realms, in
hmm
other places, the
hmm
only place that really has the clock based on a work week, a checking in, a checking out, a punching a time clock is earthly right now. That's
True.
the only reason it exists, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. There's things orbiting things, and humans made some systems to understand it.
Yeah.
It does still feel like, as I go through the day, that 10 a.m. is earlier. I remember 10 a.m. a little while ago, and that is in the past. So I'm not asking for a specific answer. I'm on board with all of this. What I'm saying is, actually, I talk to myself all of the time, and it's so helpful.
It is.
If you think out something, how could that? It feels very much like 5 minutes ago I was in the bathroom, and I'm presently not in the bathroom. So that had to be in the past. We need to look at some of your videos. I also saw the one about the crystalline structure, the shift to the crystalline structure.
Yeah,
And
that's been, is that the one, was that the one on TikTok that I talked about?
I have no idea. I've been like
Okay.
cramming over the last day. It must have been on TikTok, and it was about the carbon-based to crystalline
Yes.
structure. And that's really hard for people to take, because science is pretty, we don't really realize that these are just atoms touching each other and going through each other. So what really good resources as a quantum energy healer can you direct people to, so that they can understand the science of? And then we have to get to forgiveness before we run out of time.
Yeah, and you know, if you follow Greg Braden,
Yes, I
or
do.
yeah, any of those people will talk about that. Billy Carson, he knows a lot of ancient wisdom and knowledge about what is happening right now, how we're ascending very rapidly. So there's a lot of information out there. You can just Google to find certain things. You know, Google won't always give you the answer, but it will take you to the right answer.
And
And
what are the words? Quantum energy healing? Is that
quantum energy. might take you to that would be what I would suggest. But I do read, and even people like Wayne Dyer talked about that. He was very
Mhm.
positive, but he knew there was something so much more. And I'll tell you, one of the best places to find information is the Gaia. It's a
Mm.
you do you follow Gaia,
The television
the
network?
television? Uh-huh.
I actually haven't subscribed because
It's
it's a
it's
little.
amazing. It's really amazing. It's like you go in there and you don't know what to watch because there's so much that they offer, but it does talk a lot about quantum.
Well, those are great resources. Thank you. Pardon me, I have an itch. Thank you for providing those to our viewers. That is wonderful. We can't do this quickly, but we still have music and movement to do, and it's a participating kind of a dealio. Um, Forgiveness. I was just watching one of your videos, and I teach this to my patients too, and it's part of my everything. Forgiveness is not about what they did. Forgiveness is to release yourself of the emotional attachment to what they did.
Absolutely.
So, can you talk a little bit more about that and why it is critical to happiness in life?
I sure will. And honestly, it's not just critical to happiness, it is critical to healing. I
Mm,
really feel that forgiveness facilitates the healing.
I agree.
And what kind of started me on that journey was the four agreements. And it was about taking nothing personally. That was one
Write
of the
it down, people.
agreements.
The four agreements. Okay.
The four agreements, right? Take nothing personally. And as I was exploring everything, going through my divorce, it dawned on me the things that he was very being married to a narcissist. You can never make them happy, no matter what you did. I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like, man, I can't win. And when I sat there and read that part of the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was never about me. It was always about how he felt inside, projecting it onto me. It was not me at all, ever. It was him. And not that I'm saying I was perfect, because I'm not, but that kind of started me on the path. And I'll tell you very quickly what my epiphany was. And during the time I was divorcing, my mother got sick with breast cancer. And she had been divorced from my dad for probably, at this period in time, 25 years.
Mm,
And the one thing she always said is, she said, I've forgiven him, I've let it go, just for years and years and years. And I'm like, that's wonderful. Good for you. Kudos. Keep up the good work.
mhm,
And so when she was about 4 days away from dying,
mhm,
this is what she took with her, 4 days away from dying. There were two things she said. And one was, they threw rocks at me. And I'm like, Mom, who? Who threw rocks at you? I thought, is she kind of, is she delirious? And she said, the kids. I'm like, what kids? She was in third grade. She'd been carrying that since third grade, that the kids bullied her and threw rocks at her. And almost in the next breath, she looked at me and she was referring to my father. And she says, he slept with all my friends. He
oh,
slept with all my friends. When you forgive somebody, they're not in your field anymore. You've released, you've let go. You don't even really, they're not a thought. You've moved on because
mhm.
you've released that. And so I knew in that moment, because I was going through a divorce as well, my epiphany from my mother right before she died was, I will never let a man take my life. Never, never, never.
Golly.
And I was just like, did she plan this for me? Was this something, a contract before she came here, that she was going to save me in this way? But had she that never come up,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have realized that he would, all my grief and everything was going to overtake me. And when I realized that she hadn't practiced forgiveness, I went on a quest.
Tell me about the quest, because this is the next question.
Well, as it turned out, I after she passed away, well, maybe she was still, I don't remember, but I took a trip to Hawaii with both my girls. And I had been going to Hawaii since I moved there when I was 17. And I always ask my guides before I take a trip, I'm like, what do you need me to do? Where is there anything? What do you need?
Yeah.
And I heard them say, feed the stray. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Well, to me, a stray was a dog, right? So every day I walk out with maybe half a sandwich or just something with
Mhm.
me, where if I find the stray, I can feed it. And we were there 10 days. We were on the big island, and nothing. I couldn't find anything. So probably maybe a few days before we were to leave the island, we took a hike to the Kilauea volcano, which was active at the time. And it was my daughter and I, my oldest daughter. And we had like little backpacks on. We had lunch, we had water, we had everything. And I was crossing this ravine, and it was slats and it was rope. And I heard my guide say, make, I know. I was just like, oh, please let me get over this. And my guys are like, no, make an offering to the island. Well, I had some food in there, so I broke some off and I threw some in the ravine. I made an offering to the island, which is always alive. It comes up from the ocean. It's this Hawaii just fascinates me.
Mm.
So as we walked a little further, I heard this rustle in the foliage. And I looked at my daughter and I kind of looked in there, and there was this little bird, and it had a hobbled foot and it was starving. And
Oh.
I heard my guide say, you found your stray.
Oh my
The
goodness.
bird ate out of my daughter's hand. I have pictures of her down there. It was a strange looking little bird with red eyes. But my gift for doing what was asked of me is when I came back, I kept seeing this word Hooponopono. I'm like, what is this? And I'd never heard it before. Never heard it before. And I would see it, I would hear it. It was just everywhere. So I started thinking, well, I'm smart enough to know when I'm given something like this, I need to see what it is, figure it out, possibly utilize it. And so when I started, the four sayings, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. I'm like, no, that's too simple. Too simple. I paid a lot of money to try to figure this out, and this is free. It can't work. And my guides were like, try it, just try it. So I started trying it, and I always use the in between times, right before you fall asleep, right before you wake up, where that subconscious will grab it and just put it to work. And so after about a week, I just started thinking, it felt like things were melting away. I could kind of breathe again. I didn't feel as much on autopilot. And I've been using it ever since. And along with the other tools. And then I started visualizing. I'd pull people out there. I'd put myself on stage. I would open curtains and I would talk to me. I would talk to my ex. I would see him up there, and I forgive you for what you've done to me, and I'd let the curtains close and I would just release. And it was almost like physical anger. Everything was just melting away. And I'm like, how can this work? But it did. And it's so sacred. It's so ancient.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever been to Hawaii and you know how those people are, they're kind, they speak their truth, and it's a family thing. It's an old family, and they just, if there's dissension in the family, we all come together, we talk about it, we get rid of it. We don't bury it like we do here in the United States. We bury everything.
Of course we do. Ho'oponopono is, as you said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Now, when I talk to my patients or anybody, and I suggest this, and even myself, I bristled at this for a few people, like because I had a very, very, very violent marriage that I'm
Mhm.
still recovering from, and but I'm good now. But I know that trauma is a weird thing, it comes
Yes.
and but sometimes I was like, I don't want to do it for him. Not that he doesn't deserve it, but what on earth did I contribute to this? And then I realized, so this is for people at home. This is my experience, and maybe you have something to share. That if in between, I am sorry, like, what am I sorry for? I'm sorry that I didn't see sooner so that your heart didn't get broken too, maybe? Think of little things. And then I was like, I'm sorry, I just wasn't aware. And now I have a new level of awareness. And now I can look back and say, I was in a place in my life, and then I had to do Hooponopono on myself.
Yes.
And I would start like procrastinating it. What would you say? Because it can feel it's such a big thing. It takes a lot of energy and it releases a lot of energy. But what about for somebody that's like, wow, that sounds like that's a lot of deep work? What do you suggest?
It is a lot of work. It's a
Mhm.
lot of work because you some of the things you're releasing are very painful. But as painful as it is in that moment, why would you choose to carry it forward for the rest of your life? And once I learned that forgiveness was for me,
Mm,
you know, I'm not condoning what he did,
mhm,
but I refuse to carry that any longer, what he placed on me. The hurt, the pain, the
mm,
cheating. That was him. That was not me.
mm,
But I also took, like you're talking about, I took responsibility for me and I started forgiving myself.
mm,
And one of the things was for never using my voice to speak to him my truth. I
mm,
let him
mm.
talk and I shut down. I had two daughters watching, and I thought it would be more beneficial to just be quiet and let it happen. And now there was never any hitting or anything like that. And he was very careful how he did it. It was almost as if he said something, he could always back the truck up with some like flimsy little explanation.
Mhm.
They're very, very cunning.
They
They're
are.
very cunning. But I forgave myself for not opening my eyes to that sooner. I forgave myself for shutting down and not speaking my truth, which was, once I realized I did that, that was a lot of what the sickness inside of me was everything that I wanted to say was bottled up inside my body and not released. So,
Yeah.
yes, you have to use it on yourself and whoever you want to forgive.
It's
And
just so useful.
it really is. And like you're talking about, I came to understand that everything that I did, there was never really any malice with what I did.
Mhm.
But what I didn't realize at the time was I was doing the best I could with the information I had at that moment.
Exactly.
That's all
And
I knew to
that's
do.
all you need to go, oh my God, Karla Sue 10 minutes ago. That must have felt awful. We don't have to feel that way anymore.
No, no. And I'm sure you've noticed this as well, but when you practice forgiveness and you start loving yourself because you realize you're worthy of it, all that healing, you actually start looking different. You bring that sparkle back to your eyes, that shine back to your eyes, not that forced smile that you have to give people, but a true happy smile. It truly changes your looks.
I agree with you. I believe it. I see it in my caseload. I see it myself. It's so valuable. We're having this show in September as part of Suicide Awareness Month, and suicide is something that a lot of people think about or are even more are affected by, and we
Mhm.
don't talk very much about it. Can you share with me, is there a song perhaps when you were very, very down, no light at the end of the tunnel, that helped you, or was there something? What helped you?
The thing that helped me most was meditation.
Okay.
I love any kind of music, but meditation helped me because it helped me go inside of myself where I surrendered. And
Mhm.
that's when I really started understanding the best place to get your downloads is
Mhm.
just going inside yourself and allowing.
That's
And
right.
I also learned to sit in my silence.
Mhm.
And silence is very, very important, because we have chatter all the time. And monkey mind, that's what we call it in yoga, monkey mind.
Yes.
And
Right.
so I learned to control that with my breath. And every time a thought would come while I was in meditation, I would use my breath to get right back into that meditation.
That's
And that's what calmed me down and helped me to understand that truly all of our answers are inward, not anything on the outside. You'll find the answers to some things, but really in-depth knowledge is going to be found inside.
I agree. I'm going to share something from my own personal experience, and I also see it in my practice. That can be very, very, very difficult when you are in the throes.
Mm-hmm.
So, my advice for people who are in the throes, it makes no sense, I reject it, it is crap. Guided meditation. Guided meditation for me, and I was never a poo-pooer on meditation, but here's why I couldn't do it. When I would sit with myself, it was a nightmare of a loop of everything. I mean, it was flooding me. So I found it very useful to do, on YouTube has a ton. I love
Oh,
Louise Hayes,
yes.
has a bunch. There's a lot of really good ones, Dr. Joe Dispenza. So for those of you who meditation feels like torment because you're remembering things, and we want to really get calm and try a guided meditation. That would be the way to go, I think.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Like you said, there's so much there,
Hmm.
and it's free.
It's free, 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 free,
Free.
free, free. So on this show, we do music, and I am a musician. And here's something: my very waspy brother would be horrified. But I would like to share a cool connection. I'm a singer-songwriter, and
Okay.
I have a song that won awards all over the world for the 2012 film Sacred Journey of the Heart, which
Ooh.
is narrated by Mary Morrissey and featured Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, and the Heart Math Institute, among others.
Okay.
And so that's a really neat connection because all of these people that I've known, I just keep getting it deeper and deeper. But I wanted to tell you, isn't that kind of an interesting
I
little
think it's amazing. And as we know, no coincidence, right?
no coincidence? So tell me this. My song, I've been told, has helped a lot of people off the edge, literal or just in that place where you just don't know where to turn. Is there a song that you always go to?
And I've talked about this before, and it's a very old song, and it's by Neil Sedaka. And
I love Neil Sedaka.
yeah, it's very old, and it talks about, I'm trying to think of the name. Good morning, yesterday, you wake up and time has slipped away.
Yes,
Do you know what one I'm talking
I
about?
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
times of your life, times of your life. And that one to me, even as a young girl, I knew was extremely special because and as you get older and time goes faster, I truly think it does.
Mhm.
You look back and it's like, my gosh, my baby, who I struggled to get here, is going to be 22 in 2 weeks. And I look back fondly, but they talk about memories being your currency to spend when you get to tomorrow, and it's tomorrow for me. And to know that when you were so young and love it so much and bring it forward with you today, I think that would be the song that really resonates with my heart the most.
I cannot wait. We can put the links, like to the YouTube. People can check it out and they can see how it resonates with them. It's important, I believe, as a musician, you need to be able to appreciate art. Appreciate the music. Like, do you like it or not? But also, what about it is interesting, or what about it makes you feel things? And furthermore, even without vocals, there are pieces of music, gajillions of them, that literally can transform our emotional state if we listen to them with the intention of mindfulness. Would you agree? Unless we have a
Absolutely.
horrible association.
Uh,
No, no, no.
they talk about music taming the savage beast.
Yes.
And that's how powerful it is. You know, whether it's a song that takes you right back to an amazing time in your life where you get that joy, no
Mhm.
matter what it is, music is so powerful. And
Oh.
I watched this little boy, I think he is on Instagram. He is 6 years old. He can play piano like you have never seen. And I listen to his stuff, and it's so cute because he'll like be playing it and look at his mom. He's definitely reincarnated from somewhere, because at age 3 or 4 you don't do these, pieces like Beethoven or whoever.
Mhm.
And I listen to him and I'm like, it just resonates within me. It just makes my body feel good,
Mhm.
and it's very calming. It's very calming to me.
Right. Very calming. Thank you for that information. For those of you at home that are not familiar with or outright reject any of the past life stuff that we're discussing, which is supported in the majority of Eastern wisdom traditions, but we're in the West, um, feel free to have whatever opinion you have. But there are interesting ideas within it that maybe you can just use as far as turning your day around, rebirth for a different purpose. So, all of you guys out there who think it's a little woo woo, trust me, just check it out and then you can decide.
And you can identify your fears that way.
Like with music,
With
yeah.
music, you can identify them with looking back to something. And sometimes just when we have like a deja vu, that can be a past life. It's a memory that's like that.
And
So,
think of the different genres of music that actually do not leave one feeling better and how popular those are. And the impact on the psyche, the spirit, the brain. Some of the rhythms dumb you down. So music is good. We agree on that.
absolutely, I love it.
The last part of our show has to do with movement. So with bhavana yoga dance, bhavana is a Sanskrit word which translates, this is a pretty good way to say it, the cultivation in this life, this body, this person who I am, my cultivation of the purpose that I was put here to do, my sacred purpose. If you have a relationship with God, you could think of it that way too. Or you could just think of it as what's in your gut that has to come out. So bhavana yoga dance is it's an intuitive modality to treat trauma. Today, because of our setting, we're not going to be able to do much with lower body interventions. But I would like for you to conjure up. I'm going to give you a statement, and I want you to have a posture in response. If this was you, I try so hard. I don't know why it's not working. I just feel like giving up, and I have nobody to talk to about it. What does that person look like? Like
I,
make
s-
it.
I see a weathered person that has spent their whole life journeying for self
Mm-hmm.
and never finding it. I see.
What would they look to you like? Like, would they be standing up straight? Would they be
No, no, there's no straightness in that sadness. There's someone that is slumped over,
okay?
never having understood who they were.
I'm going to
And
model this for you guys so that you can see what she's narrating. So she's saying slumped over. Okay, so we've got someone like this.
that never makes eye contact, always looks down, and has just their skin hangs because they're so weary. And that is because they have no self-love in there.
This feels awful to do
It
this.
does. And it's like each breath is difficult. Each breath is in their mind, they're thinking, why am I taking this? What good am I here?
Okay, I need to stop that because that feels really horrible.
Yes, it
So,
does.
so that, but I get that. So you can't make eye contact. You're slumped. You're mean.
Mhm.
You're okay. So with Bhavana Yoga Dance on the show, what I do is I cue opposite statements. opposite emotions and opposite posture. So the opposite of nobody listens to me, I have no hope would be straighter. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm
Very straight. Shoulders
You can do
back.
it with me. You can do it with me. Okay, shoulders back. I'm going to do what comes to me. So I'm standing up straight. My shoulders are back. My heart is out. And I'm in mountain pose. If I stood back, you could see I have my feet hip width apart and I'm standing with all of my muscles engaged but not strained. I feel grounded and I feel open. My hands are down. What other things could people so remember this at home when you find yourself just like, okay, wait, that show said do the opposite. Okay, so what other, can you do any? Can you make any, I believe in myself and the path before me may not be clear, but I can handle it poses?
I can do this by sitting, and it will always be with your hand on your heart
Okay.
because your heart is your true center.
Mm,
And I would put my hand on top of my head and I would tap lightly to open my crown.
like emotional freedom technique.
Emotional freedom, EFT, absolutely. Just kind of tap with your palm, tap with your fingers. But what you're doing is you're opening that crown. And that's not only where light comes in, but it's where guidance comes in, truth comes in. It's where you're going to feel safe because your hand's on your heart. So you're opening yourself up to the universe through love. And love is that high vibration of 500.
Mm.
Our heart being our truth center. I'm getting goosebumps just doing this. So you are truly connecting with the universe and your universe. Your universe is knowledge, it's love, and it's wisdom.
Oh, that's perfect. So remember, you can always rewatch the episodes and do it with us as much as you need. That's wonderful.
And
Thank
don't you feel different just from awakening
you.
yourself?
I feel like I can do this. Just kind of like, wow, I'm happy.
Yeah. And it's just that simple, isn't it?
It really is. And it was using Dr. Joe Dispenza's technique of just deciding not to feel the pain, which sounds ludicrous even to me. I'm a minister, I'm an energy medicine practitioner. I know all of the woo. Um, gosh darn it. It's not forever, but you can,
You
it's
can.
empowering.
You can. You have no idea how powerful you are. I'm just for your whole audience. You have no idea of your power as a birthright.
Hmm. As a birthright, we will have many episodes coming up on self-worth. And then underneath that, what is worthy? And underneath that, what do we value? Underneath that, is that really our own value? That kind of thing. I would love it if you might like to come back on the show and talk
Oh,
about that sometime.
I would be honored to do that. This has been an amazing session. And, I never script anything because I don't want to miss anything from the universe.
I agree. I agree. Oh, there was one more. Oh, yeah. Here's one more thing for you guys to take home. So, we're talking about altering our emotional state, literally our physical state, which means our vision is clear, all of this. So, she was doing the emotional freedom technique, kind of. There's a whole protocol for that.
Right.
This is one thing. Here's another thing. This is a neurovascular hold. Nicole, you probably practice this. We place one hand on our forehead and then the other hand at the nape of the neck and skull. And the reason, and then we breathe, open the heart. If that feels scary, just think about it as arching your back. You can do it eyes open or eyes closed. And you can do it for as long as you need to. You can stay here as long as you need to. Now, the reason that is important, people, and I will always tell you why it's important so that you can decide if that's important to you. The reason it's important is, first of all, we're bringing attention to our prefrontal cortex. The frontal lobes are our executive functioning. They make us logical, reasonable, planful humans. Back here is where our parents, caretakers, our moms, held us when we have to hold a baby. And I'll use my water jug. When you have to hold that baby's neck, and you have to, and that feels comforting. So it brings us to a memory that we can't actively recall, but it's an implicit memory. Do you have any others before we say goodbye?
That's amazing. No, that one I absolutely love. You know, for me, everything goes back to the heart just because of the vibration of love, which
Mm-hmm.
is our highest vibration. And it to me, that the heart being that true center,
Mm-hmm.
you should go there first and just listen.
I
You
agree.
you will be told.
For those of us that don't know what that means yet, though, the things that we have shared today will be useful. And just think of how wonderful it feels to a baby to have their, and we remember that in our heart. We remember that in those cells.
Right, right.
Do you have any bit of advice for anybody who might want to check you out further? How about a book I've heard about?
I do have a book. I've got many books, but I do give away a free book, and it talks about my marriage and what started my whole journey. I can send you a link for that if you'd like to post it.
I would love to post it.
Yeah, and that way anybody can get it for free. And it talks about Hooponopono. It talks about everything that we've talked about. And I am my own brand, so you can always find me under Nicole Harvick. Whether it's NicoleHarvick.com is my website. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, you name it. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. And TikTok is a little more spiritually inclined, what I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in hearing some of the whys of what's going on right now, you know, I talk
Mm-hmm.
about chakras, I talk about the sounds that go with them. So TikTok is where you're going to hear things that are a little bit different. If you don't know, I'm always open to answering questions.
You're like an encyclopedia. I will be looking you up. I
Oh,
will be
thank
looking you up,
you.
and I will be following every single thing. It's so important. We can never neglect ours, no matter how you feel about religion. Many of us feel it's not just us, and it's such a great connection we have with the earth itself and with the universe. And let us honor every creature on this universe, on every land. Let us leave it better than than we got there, because especially with the dog. and, and please, everybody, open your heart to something and somebody today, just because you feel like it. It'll feel good, and you'll do it again. Smoochies. Mwah. Thank you, Nicole Harvick.
You're welcome.
Oh, surfer girl, wild and free. Waves carry heart and soul and comfort me. My wounds no longer bleed. My soul no longer needs. I am surfer girl, and I am free.